Good morning, students of Colegio de Dagupan School of Professional Studies. This is Dr. Denton Nervasa Caballero, your professor for this morning. Teaching is the process of using appropriate method, staff, and materials in order to reach in the most effective manner to the predetermined goals. Teaching is a conscious and purposeful activity, oriented to the predetermined goals and aimed to earn desirable behavior. Teaching activities usually take place in the schools or other institutions of learning. Planned, controlled, and organized teaching activities that occur in schools are called instruction. So as we can see, teaching is a continuous process wherein teachers need appropriate methods in order for them to deliver instruction to the different learners. And of course, materials for them to effectively give instructions to the learners. According to Renate and Geoffrey, there are some basic points about effective ways which can be learned in brain-based researches in learning and teaching. Previous experiences and significations affect the brain in a way that it operates new experiences and organizes new information. Our senses, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the ears, and the skin, and our knowledge share an important relation. We can think only one thing at a moment. In contrast, our brain can realize many brain functions and organize many stimuli at the same time. So as we can see, our brain can do things at the same time. According to Silcock in 2000, the new concepts, information, and principles to be learned can only make sense when they are related to the previous ones. So as you can see, things or the principles to be learned can only make sense, or it will be sensible if they will be related to the previous ones. So that is the importance of making a connection from the previous lesson to the newest lesson. Since the quality of learning is a process and education depends on the complete, in every way, participation of the individual to this process in actual learning approach. The student-centered instruction is accepted as the basic principle. So if we're going to look at it, the instruction should be centered to our learners. It is because our learners are the primary and the sole beneficiary of the delivery of instruction. Designed according to a student's interests, needs, talents, and skills, the student learning teaching environment creates successful individuals. So as we can see, there should be a designed instructional delivery in order to cater the different interests of our learners, the different needs of our learners, the different talents, and the different skills. This sums up quality learning. In order for us to be able to give the best for our students, we need to take it from the very top to the grassroots one. According to PhD, he claimed that a child can learn a lot of things when he or she plays with mud, and in that PhD's view, when a child interacts actively with his or her environment, he or she gives meaning better to the events and objects. So, there is a need for the practical work approach to be given to our students. It is because when they will be able to see, to smell, to hear everything, then lifelong learning will be done. If an individual associates meaningfully pieces of knowledge in the active interaction, informs connections, he could classify, he could organize, and he could code this knowledge easily. The knowledge gathered in this way can be kept in memory for a long time. Now, when choosing an instructional model, teachers seek strategies that help students gain a complete understanding of new concepts. They aim to engage students, motivate them to learn, and guide them towards skill development. That's the reason the topic for today is all about the 5E instructional model, the emerging instructional model in addressing students' academic improvement. So as we can see, this instructional model, the 5E, could address students' academic improvement. So as teachers, we want to have a good performance coming from our students. Now, how could we achieve that goal? That after teaching the lesson for an hour, you will be able to assess the students, and these students will going to give a very good or post a very good score. Research suggests that there is a set of or order of events that facilitates learning, known as a learning cycle. So that learning cycle is known as set of order of events. In 1962, educators Myron Atkin and Robert Karplus told that effective learning cycles involve 3 key elements. So let us look at this way. There are 3 key elements in order to have an effective learning cycle. The first one is exploration. When we say exploration, it is exploring the unknown in order for these students to learn. Example, in teaching natural things to students, specifically in the ecosystem. As we know, ecosystem is the interaction of living and non-living things. Now, would it be enough if we're going to use our books? Would it be enough if we are going to use our worksheets inside the room and teach the interaction between the living and the non-living things? Pretty sure it's not. For us to be able to let these students gain more knowledge, and that knowledge will be a lifelong one, they can only have that if they were going to have an experiential form of learning. So naturally, when you are going to teach ecosystem, it is best for these students to go out of the classroom. Remember that we should not confine our students inside the class, for it is better to let the students touch things, see things, and hear things for themselves. And their scheme, exploration, allowed the learners to become interested in the subject, raise questions, and identify points of dissatisfaction with their current understanding. Introduction of new ideas and terms, primarily by the instructor or as teachers, but negotiated by both teachers and students, follow. Finally, concept application provided learners with opportunities with the classroom to apply their new ideas, try out their new understandings in novel contexts, and evaluate the completeness of their understanding. According to Ms. Tanner in the article Order Matters, using the 5E model to align teaching and how people learn. So going back, the first one is the exploration. The second is the term introduction. So as teachers, when we are going to teach ecosystem, let us remember that there are key words to be considered. We have the interaction, we have biotic, We have the abiotic, or biotic is the living, abiotic is the non-living. So all these key terms should be introduced to our learners. In teaching English, specifically when you're going to teach reading, teachers should always have unlocking of difficult words. For these students, when they will be able to meet those words that can be found in the selection, they will be able to understand what does it mean. So in teaching English, unlocking difficult words is very important. So in science, when we are going to teach that one, there is a need to introduce the term for these students or for these learners. Now, what is 5E, or this emerging trend of instructional model? The 5E model was developed in 1987 by the Biological Sciences Curriculum Study that promotes collaborative, active learning in which students or learners work together to solve problems and investigate new concepts by asking questions, by observing, by analyzing, and by drawing conclusions. So if you are going to look at it, this 5E model promotes collaboration. So when we say collaboration, it is the interaction in between, in among those people concerned. Teacher to a student to teacher, student to student, and teacher to students, and students to the teacher. So there is what we call collaboration from in among the members of the class. Also, this 5E model promotes active learning. Well, as we can see, when you are going to teach ecosystem, pretty sure these students are very excited to go out and have the nature walk, the gallery walk, the study tour, and everything that they can do in order for them to be able to understand and grasp the concepts being mentioned by the teacher. Now, the 5E model is based on the constructivist theory to learning, which suggests that people construct knowledge and meaning from experiences. So as you can see, experience is the best teacher. It is because the knowledge will be constructed and the meaning of that knowledge will be embedded to the conscious and the subconscious mind of the learners. By understanding and reflecting on activities, learners will be able to reconcile new knowledge with the previous ideas. So a while ago, there is a need to connect the previous knowledge to the new knowledge. So as we can see, this 5E model reconcile the new knowledge with the previous knowledge that they have. According to subject matter expert Beverly Jobrock, and I quote, educational movements such as inquiry-based learning, active learning, experiential learning, discovery learning, and knowledge building are variations of constructivism. The end of the quote. So going back, these are very important in order for us to be able to assess the students and improve the students' achievement in the different learning areas. This 5E model, remember students, that it is not only confined in teaching science. You can have the 5E model across all disciplines in the class. So, going back, in the classroom, constructivism requires educators to build inquiry. That's the first one. As teachers, we need to build inquiry, exploration, and assessment into our instructional approach. Now, we will be able to have only a molded and constructed knowledge through inquiry, through exploration, and through assessment. Now, in the case of our students, the need to inquire. And as teachers, we should be providing them higher order thinking skills questions. And these hot questions will be able to spark their minds. And also, let us permit and have the atmosphere that they are also be engaging in the class discussion. They should be inquiring. They should be asking questions from among them. They should be asking questions to the teacher. And teachers could also spark their interest by asking questions. So as teachers, it's very important that you know the art of a better questioning. Of course, all of us teachers are trained to have that or to do that. Now, in our class, we should always bear in mind that we are shaping today's generation to become productive individuals, and at the same time, for them to be able to acquire knowledge and help them become successful in their own lives. The second one is exploration. Now, in exploration, they will be able to know more about things and about the things that they see, about things that they hear, about things that they smell, and everything. In exploration, they will be able to realize the importance of, number one, going around. Second, they will be able to realize the importance of being inquisitive. And the last one, they will be able to realize the importance of the eyes, the nose, the ears, and the other two senses. For them to be able to have the knowledge and at the same time apply it in their own lives. In the 5E instructional model, the instruction is primarily a student-led and inquiry-based. So, this 5E instructional model is a very good instructional model in raising students' academic performance because it points out to a student-led and inquiry-based. The students will go into lead themselves. Someone will go on to lead the group, and then the next day another student will go on to lead the group, and then they will be mixed together, and they're going to form a new group. And at the same time, this instructional model is inquiry-based. So they are permitted to ask questions to their classmates, among their classmates, and they are also permitted to ask questions to the teacher. Now, in this 5E instructional model, the teacher will go into act as a facilitator, guiding the student through questions. So as I said a while ago, the art of questioning is very important. As teachers, we need to master the good art of questioning. Also, teachers as a facilitator in the 5E instructional model should guide students or learners to investigate, to experience, and also have a research. In the end, or in the long run, students will be going to arrive at a deep understanding of fundamental scientific concepts, mathematical concepts, and the like. And each stage of the model serves as a foundation to the next, creating a coherent model that frames lessons, activities, and units. The first stage in the 5E instructional model is known as the engagement phase. Now, what does it mean by this engagement phase? Taking from the root word engage, the teacher connects the current concept with prior experience and understanding. Students may ask questions. Misconceptions should be noted by the teacher, but not to correct yet. So, in this phase, stage 1, that's the engagement phase, the teacher will going to draw all the concepts from the learners or the students. Correct conceptions, misconceptions, good ideas, not so good ideas, all are welcome. And then it will be put inside a box of wherein later sorting of concepts will be done. Now, students start to develop a framework for the concept to be studied. It's just a sort of a scaffolding in making a building. It's very important. The posts, the steel bars are very important as a scaffolding in making the building. So, the correct concepts, the misconceptions, the good ideas, the not so good ideas will be put inside a box. Then later, they will be able to, number 1, recognize, identify, sort things that are not good, the concepts that are blurred, and the concepts that are crystal clear. By the end of the engagement phase, teachers, or students I should say, students' interest is peaked and they are ready to explore more about the topic. Now, let's go to the second stage, or the stage 2. Stage 2 is known as the exploration phase. Once interest has been generated, so there is a generation of interest among the students, the learners or the student is ready to begin exploring the concept. In this stage, the teacher provides a hands-on activity. So as you can see, it is an experiential learning. Student will going to be engaged in a practical work manner. Students investigate a problem and begin to pose real questions. So this problem posted in a conspicuous place or on the board, these pupils now or learners now will going to pose real questions with regard to the problem. And then, as teacher facilitating the instruction, we need to help these learners develop hypotheses. And of course, test some variables. The key concepts in the topic are identified, and students develop the skills needed to test this. So, as facilitators, as teachers facilitating the instruction, there should be that key concept about the topic. There should be identification of that before proceeding to the lesson and go on further. Identification of the key concept is very important, and this is being needed by the students in order for them to develop the skills needed in testing these concepts. So in this exploration phase, students are now refining. They are now refining their skills. Example in science. They will be refining their laboratory skills as well as their understanding on the scientific method. Because as we know, in the conduct of an experiment, question will be there. It's the topmost thing. And then it undergoes process, the scientific process. So in the conduct of the scientific process, the skills of the students are being honed. The skills of the students are being refined in a manner that in the long run, they will be able to have a concrete knowledge, a concrete idea, and a concrete concept. Students need to work cooperatively in groups and should be provided time. Time is very important. The provision of time is very important to our learners. That is for what? Providing time to reflect on the results on their investigation. So we should not be in a hurry that we're going to, in 10 minutes you need to finish that one. That should not be. We should be giving time, ample time to our students. But of course, we need to set limits. As facilitators, as teacher facilitators, we need to set limits. The teacher in this phase is not yet providing direct instruction. So remember, in stage 2, the exploration phase, teachers should not be providing direct instruction at the moment. Rather, teachers must be leading students through inquiry-based questions. Even though questions are posed, answers are not yet so. So, in this exploration phase, teachers will be asking their students to pose questions, one after the other. Best if these questions will be posted on a conspicuous place, or these questions will be tallied if that will be the sword, or if that will be the case, or these questions will be put in a bowl for a later discussion. Now let's go to the third stage. It is known as stage 3, or the explanation phase. This is the stage when connections are being made. In the first stage, that's a prior knowledge. There should be a connection for that. So, the real connection of the prior knowledge to the new knowledge is under stage 3, the explanation phase. So, this prior knowledge will be connected to their current findings. Students need to develop explanations for the observations. So we should be guiding these students in order for them to develop their explanations. Maybe for grade 5, grade 6, and higher grades, they can do this one. Now, the teacher in this explanation phase need to answer the questions coming from the students one by one. And of course, vocabulary is now defined and the concepts are being explained. So in this stage of the 5E model of instruction, vocabularies now are being defined in detail and the concepts should be well explained on this part. Teachers should elicit student discussion and need to build upon class discussion. So the art of questioning is very important. What type of question are we going to ask our students? What sort of question we are going to give to our students? We will be contented with the what? Are we going to be contented with the so-called where? When? No, it shouldn't be. Those are very shallow type of questions. We should rely and go for the why and the how. Now, in doing so, if we are going to ask our students the hows and the whys, they now will be able to construct their own concept, their own ideas, in order to strengthen their premise of their observations. Now, While this is in the direct instruction phase, this should be presented in a collaborative fashion. Of course, when we say collaborate, it is the discussion among various students, the discussion in the group, the discussion of the whole class. Now it depends on the teacher if he or she is going to group the students by 5, by 6. It depends on the number of students. Now, if there's a lecture, students need to gather together to discuss what they have learned. In my point of view, lecture is still very important because in the lecture, things that could not be taken up by these learners because of their lack of knowledge will be given by the teacher. Concepts coming from the teacher will play a vital role in concreting, in cementing the ideas of the students. Students are now beginning to understand the new concepts in stage 3. In many cases, this knowledge is specific to the exact applications that they have studied. For example, if they learn about the butterfly life cycle, students may not understand that this life cycle is similar to the ant, to the fly, to the mosquito life cycle. They may not be prepared to compare and contrast it to the grasshopper, frog, or mammal life cycles. But of course, through the aid of the teacher facilitator, things will going to be crystal clear in the long run. In this stage, students need to internalize what they have learned. This enables them to generalize the new information and have a broader application of their new knowledge. They need time. So teachers, do not be in a hurry. You need to give time. You need to give that element of opportunity for them to feel that excitement and have a broader application of their new knowledge. Now, the next stage is also very important as part of the 5E model. Let's now go to stage 4, extension phase. Now, from the word extend, in many traditional educational models, explanation and exploration are the sum total of instruction. So gone were the days that teachers only have that exploration and then they're going to explain the end. Now, in this 5E model, extension phase is being given an opportunity in order to improve student academic performance. After the 2 stages, the teacher will now going to move on a new unit. However, research shows that the students need to connect what they have learned to something concrete and their understanding of the world around them. Now, if you're going to look at it, how many times already they are told that there should be a connection of a previous knowledge to the present knowledge, the prior one to the present one. So there will always be an interplay of this knowledge, the past and the present. Now, if we're going to look at it, they're always telling, why is it you're going to look for the x in algebra, wherein that x is already with someone? But in the 5E model, the X, the former, the previous, the prior is still very important in making up, solidifying the new knowledge. They need to generalize this understanding in order for them to turn into real knowledge and skills acquisition. This is what happens in the extension stage. All the knowledge and vocabulary that the student has gained is now elaborated upon and explored. It is being applied to previous investigations and used to formulate hypotheses. These hypotheses are tested in new investigations. Now, the students take the data and they will be drawing conclusions. Let them investigate. Let them explore. Let them observe. Because it is on their investigation, it is on their exploration, it is on their observation, they use newly acquired terms and concepts in conversation and writing. So it's just like shooting 3 or 4 birds in just a stone. Because the senses are there, it's being used, collaboration, the connection of the past and the present are now emerging into a total package for these students to acquire, establish new terms and concepts, improving their skills. The last one, or the last stage, is known as the evaluation phase. Now, it is time for students to evaluate their own learning. This can be a tempting stage to skip, but teachers never skip the evaluation phase. Because if you are not going to facilitate the students, they might be tempted to skip this stage really. They will be moving directly to the unit test instead. Now, in this stage, however, studies have shown that when students use metacognitive skills, that is, thinking about what they are thinking, their depth of learning increases. So there is a need to improve that metacognition skills of the students. For them to be able to have an in-depth acquisition of learning. So in this stage, my dear teachers, students compare their previous knowledge, previous understanding to the new set of knowledge. They are able to prove what they know in writing, in conversation, and in demonstration. Now, as teachers, as teacher facilitator, we need to evaluate the learning. And this should be taken place through performance, informal and formal assessments. We need not to be confined with a paper and pencil test. Gone were the days that teachers use only the paper and pencil test. So as you can see, we need to assess our students through performance. Now, how are we going to assess our students' performance? We should have a rubric, a standard, in order for us to be able to assess our students properly. We also need to assess them informally. When we say informally, why is the teacher going to have this standard? No, it should not be that case. Informally, when we say informally, That's not the usual thing that we do in assessing our students. Maybe we'll be assessing their skills in observation. We'll be assessing their skills in writing. We'll be assessing their skills in asking. We'll be assessing their skills as the case may be. And the last one is the formal assessment. The formal assessment is the kind of assessment that teachers usually do. The paper and pencil test. Now, students need to review their misconceptions that were identified throughout the unit and make sure that all the misconceptions have been corrected. Now, in the first part, you're going to accept all the ideas. You're going to accept all the concepts being given by the students. But in this last stage, the blurry ones, the cloudy conceptions, the not so good, will be taken out of the context. It will be refined to the point that you are now delivering the correct, the precise conception, or concept, I should say. Now, teachers need to provide a problem scenario. 5E model is also a problem-based model, so teachers need to provide a problem scenario to which students apply their new knowledge. Students can provide a written or oral evidence of understanding the science concepts. But as teachers, we need to emphasize that it should be backed up by researchers, backed up by real facts and figures. For them to have a better conception, a solid concept. The 5E model is the best way to achieve a depth of scientific understanding. It transcends mere recitation of facts and gets students to think scientifically. So this 5E model transcends not only on the mere recitation or the mere recitation of facts, but it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that level. So, if we're going to use the 5E model of instruction in the delivery of instruction to our students, we will be able to draw the best concept. We will be able to draw the best answer, the best observation coming from our students. When teachers facilitate this kind of student learning, students are better able to apply what they know to a broader variety of situations. So as we can see, the 5E model of instruction will give the best for our students in terms of generation of concepts, solidifying the concepts, and establishing the concepts among them. Not only the raw scores that will be improved, not only they're going to make good in the achievement test, but the best one is our students will be better prepared for future ladder of learning. 5E model of instruction gives emphasis on a lifelong learning, and that process will be continually done every now and then. Students will be able to find more enjoyment in the science lessons, or in the mathematics lessons, in the history lessons, in the English class. And this provides them with a greater opportunity for pursuing a better future, as they will be engaged more academically. They will be engaged more, not only academics, but forming or solidifying good relationships with one another. We need to inform our students that no man is an island. So they need to collaborate with one another. And that's very important. They should be collaborating every now and then. Because no one monopolizes knowledge. In that note, I will say thank you so much for listening. And I repeat, the 5E instructional model is now the emerging instructional model to address or addressing students' academic improvement. Once again, this is Dr. Denton Nervasa Caballero, your lecturer for this morning. Thank you.